Good morning, everybody. This is Ingwe Immigration, May 18th, 2021. Welcome to our free question and answer period where we answer all your questions live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So welcome. So the way it works, in case this is your first time, you can post a comment, basically your question related to Canadian immigration in the comments section, and we'd be happy to reply to you live. We're here every Tuesday, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. North American Eastern Standard Time. We are a licensed immigration firm here in Canada, so please make sure you take advantage of that. Any information that we give out today is basically public information. Your specific case could be different, so make sure that you do consult with your legal advisor. So we're going to start today with a few questions that we've been receiving. One about express entry and another update about one of the provincial nominee programs here in Canada. And remember, you could be outside of Canada, you could be inside. You could be looking to come here and study. You could be looking here to get your paperwork for a work permit, maybe sponsoring a partner or a family member, or immigration related to investment or business. It doesn't matter what your question is. We cover A to Z in terms of Canadian immigration. So do please post your questions here in the comment section, and we will answer them live. So one question one of our colleagues, one of our followers on Instagram had was regarding express entry, because the points have dropped to 400 and 401 for Canadian experience class. What does that mean, and will it drop below 400? So what we believe, what our educated guess is that the Canadian government is monitoring the new PR applications and the number of new PRs every month, and based on that, adjusting their points. So if they see that they have enough people to meet their 400,000 new PRs, permanent residents, until the end of the year, they will keep the points where it is. However, we believe there will be a gap, whether it's 60,000 or 100,000, which would mean they may come up with a new PR policy, or the points will drop. We have our money bet on the fact that it will drop below 400 points. So if you are inside of Canada, or outside, but you have Canadian experience at least 1 year, you will be eligible to participate for these draws. So make sure your express entry profile is valid, and it will stay valid for the next at least 6 to 8 months, because remember, express entry profiles are valid for 1 year, then they expire and you have to recreate. So make sure it's not going to expire in the next few months. You can always have more than one express entry profile, but I don't really suggest doing that. So we're looking at some questions here in our Instagram. So again, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I'm going to basically read all the questions on the different platforms so everybody knows what we're answering here. So Kishavatar216 is asking, what are the new changes expected in the EE? Well, express entry system. So if some of you don't know about express entry, it's a skilled immigration stream program to welcome or invite new permanent residents, whether they're inside or outside Canada, based on their points, their profile, language, age, education, and work experience, and ties to Canada, such as family, first family. There are no expected changes to express entry right now. What may happen is the points will drop, but in terms of the requirements to get into express entry, and the eligibility and the points factors, right now there's no expected changes. This system was copied from Australia many years ago, and I don't believe they're expecting any significant changes this year. All you can expect is the points to every month to change. And we do expect at some point this year, the points to drop below 400 for Canadian experience class. It did drop at the beginning of the year. We don't expect the same drop, but at least a lower. Espanol, sorry, Nele Saldivia is saying, do you speak Spanish. Today at 5 p.m. I will have one of my colleagues who speaks Spanish. So 5 p.m. Toronto time, you can join and we can interact in Spanish and we can answer Spanish questions too. We're gonna move on to some other questions on our Instagram. It says, Kelvin is asking, I'm from Brazil. I'm still waiting for my email information. Okay, good point, Kelvin. So if Daniela, my colleague, she's also from Brazil and speaks Portuguese. Dani, I've sent you Kelvin's email today. Please email him the information so you guys can start talking about his plans to come and start studying in Canada. Okay, so that was one of our colleagues. I was just giving a message. Kelvin, don't worry. You will receive some correspondence email today from my colleague Daniela. Okay. So Danny Conde 23 is asking, if you have applied for permanent residence, but your PGWP, which is the postgraduate work permit, expires soon, do you need to apply for the extension? Yes. So you need to do something, Danny. Okay. So what happens is a mistake many people do, Danny. I've seen a lot of friends and family do the same mistake, is that when they apply for permanent residency and they're inside of Canada and they're expecting their permanent residency to be processed, their status inside of Canada expires, whether it's a study permit, work permit, or visitor visa. You need to maintain your status inside of Canada. So your PGWP, you have two options. If it's expiring before mid of November, you can apply under the new policy, which will give you the 18-month open work permit. Or when your PR has been processed in terms of the eligibility criteria, when they check that you meet the eligibility criteria, you will receive a letter and it will give you an option for a bridging work permit. However, it's cheaper and quicker and probably easier to just do the postgraduate work permit, new open work permit policy, if your work permit is expiring this year as an international graduate. Okay. We have a question here on Facebook. Safe Badr is asking, if somebody applied for a visitor visa and the processing time takes it about a year and it's taking too long, so can I cancel that application or just go ahead and apply for another one with my student visa application? Okay, so Safe, the key point is don't submit another application. You can withdraw your application and basically send a message to the Canadian government, the IRCC, the Immigration Department, to withdraw the application. It will take some time. So go through the web portal. So search on Google IRCC web portal and find it out, put in your details and request that it would be to withdraw your your visitor visa application. It does take some time depending on the embassy. So where you're located, where your visa is being processed, okay? So, but don't submit a study permit application while you have a visitor visa application process. That may not work. Plus, if you do apply for a study permit, now that you did a visitor visa, you have to be careful. The embassy may look at that and be like, okay, you wanted to come here as a tourist first, then you want to come as a student. And if you're in a region where there's a lot of high refusal rates, then that could create issues. So we're moving on here to some other questions. Amir Rahim Far is asking a question on our Instagram, and he is saying, I applied for my police certificate from back home, Iran, and I received it. When can I submit it for the new TR to PR pathway? I submitted on May 6th from the international graduation. Okay, so basically he means that he did apply for the international graduate TR to PR pathway before it closed for English applicants. He did not have his police certificate at the time of application. Now he's received it from his home country. Well, Amir, basically, if you had submitted the application, make sure you should have submitted some proof that your police certificate was under process. So that means that you uploaded some kind of proof that you had applied for the police certificate. If you hadn't, that's a problem, right? Unless you had a previous expired one. Right now, I would say that send a web portal. So there's no way to communicate with IRCC on this. The only way, again, is the web portal. So search IRCC web portal on Google, go fill out your UCI number, all your details, put a clear message in there, upload the police certificate, and mention that you have applied on this date for the new TR to PR pathway for international graduates, and this is the police certificate. So do mention what you had uploaded before. If you had uploaded nothing, there is a chance they might send back your application and not process it. But if you did send a previous expired police certificate or proof that you applied, then there's a good chance that they will accept it. Okay, so right now that's the only way to communicate. There's no other way to communicate on the TR to PR pathway. So I hope that helps. We will answer some other questions here. So safe bad, we're just a follow-up. No, the visitor visa is for a parent. Okay, so that's fine. If your parent is processing a visitor visa, so you have an existing application and you want to apply for something yourself, that's separate, right? So if your parent is planning to apply for something else like a study permit, I assume not, then that's a different story, because as I said, you cannot have two applications at the same time. But if two different people have two different applications, that's fine. So if there's more clarification, you can post there. Gul Mehak Singh 31, how are you? Hello Reza, I would like to know what things needed to be included in the personal history section for the past 10 years after the ITA requirement. So Gul Mehak, I assume you received your invitation to apply under Express Entry. Congratulations, under the Ontario Provincial Nominee Program. So Gul Mehak is asking, he's filling out the PR application forms. There's a section there that says your personal history in the past 10 years. And what it means is basically everything you've done consecutively with no gaps. So even if there's a 1 month gap, fill it. So let's say you were in high school, then you were unemployed for 3 months. Then you were working at a store for 6 months. Then you were studying. Then you were working again, or then you were unemployed. So everything in the last 10 years that's happened, okay? Basically, especially pay attention to gaps. They don't like gaps. So suddenly if there's a 3 month or 1 gap. So whenever you finish, because it's year, month, whenever you finish one, move on to the same month and continue, because it could be that 1st of March 2010, you finished at some job and then you started doing another job on March 20th, 2010. The key is they don't care about the exact day, but the month, and there should be no gap. Okay, make sure you put everything. If you were unemployed, if you were training, studying, whatever it is, they want to see what you were doing. Okay. Again, everybody who's joining us today for the first time, the way it works is that you post your question on the comment section and we answer live anything related to Canadian immigration. We have Safe Bad is asking a follow-up question on our Facebook and saying, what I meant is I'm applying for a study permit for new anyway, so I was going to apply for the parent as a companion for the student. Existing application is just a regular visitor visa. Yeah, that's possible, but make sure the parent that is going to be accompanying, they cannot have two visitor visa applications at the same time, right? So you have to either withdraw that or keep that and just apply for the study permit for the child or whoever is going there. If you want to apply for them as an accompanying for the study permit, make sure you withdraw the other visitor visa first. But again, waste of money, but it's up to you, because those circumstances are very specific. But you should not have two applications concurrently for the same reason, like a visitor visa, no matter if it's an accompanying visitor visa or not. Again, remember, there is no such thing as an accompanying visitor visa. It's a visitor visa. A visitor visa is a visitor visa. The only difference in visitor visas is if you're coming here on short-term studies or if you're just coming here as a visitor. Okay? So we will continue on and look at some questions. Sri Sahith is asking, I applied for a PR under international graduate stream and I still did not get my AOR. Way too early. Okay, over 40,000 people applied, plus the essential workers. So way too early, way too early. So give it a few months, okay? It's way too early to expect any correspondence or confirmation that your PR is eligible and it's under process. Siri Sahi says, may I know when I can get the AOR? As I said, it could take 3 months, 2 months, 6 months. It depends on how many people the government has allocated to process these new PRs, okay? But don't expect it within 1 or 2 months, that's for sure. I would say give it several months before you can get a response. I would say at least 3, 4 months, at least 3, nothing before 3 months. My guess is somewhere between 4 to 6, but again, this is a brand new program, everybody. Nobody knows what will happen. It's brand new. Nobody has experience in the new TR to PR pathway. So we just have to wait and see, but don't expect anything at this time. So we're looking at some other questions. SafePath says, perfect, thanks, no problem. Here anytime to help out. So Danny Conde 23 is asking on our Instagram, how long are visitor visas taking for processing? Well, it really depends, Danny. In some situations, like our colleague here, Safe, who's asked, it's taken over a year. But in some cases, it can be processed in a few months. If it's we've had cases where it's over 6 months or 5 months, right? It depends on the embassy. So if the embassy is fully operational, several months are normal. And again, you can check on the processing times online on the IRCC website. But if you're in a region where the embassy is not working fully, or they're working part-time, or it's a high refusal region, then expect very, very long wait times, because it is not prioritized. Okay, it is not prioritized. So make sure you know before you apply, don't have any expectations. Some regions are faster, some are slower. So no problem, Gulmehak. I'm a little bit slow going through the comments and the questions. So we have another point to mention today is regarding one of the provincial nominee programs. And again, remember, there's 10 provincial nominee programs in Canada. There's more than one territorial provincial nominee program. What's happened right now with the Ontario one is last week they invited specific occupations for applicants who had a work permit. So basically a job offer from an employer in Ontario who was eligible. And the Ontario Provincial Nominee Program will lead to permanent residency if somebody doesn't know. And the occupations they've invited were all healthcare occupations plus skilled trades. So for example, machine fitter, contractor, supervisor, electrician, carpenter, roofer, shingler, refrigeration and air conditioning mechanics, elevator constructor and mechanics, plus a whole bunch of health occupations such as dietitians and nutritionists and nurses and optometrists, chiropractors, radiation technologists, and respiratory therapists, so whole bunch. If they had minimum 31 points, they would be selected. Okay, and that was under the employer job offer foreign worker stream. So they could have been outside of Canada, they could have been inside of Canada, right? As long as they have the work experience in that occupation, they had an eligible employer to sponsor them, and they met the minimum 31 points, which is not a lot of points under the Ontario provincial program, they would have been selected and invited for a nomination from the province, which will lead to a permanent residency. So we're going to look at if anybody else has any questions. And again, folks, take advantage of the live stream that we have every Tuesday, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. because we do charge over $250 an hour to do consultations and advise on immigration matters. This is the time on Tuesdays when we allow our followers, international workers, students, people overseas, parents, Canadians, it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, you can ask your questions right here live and we do answer them. And this will be posted on our Instagram, on our Facebook, and on our YouTube channels for later viewing. And remember, the information we're giving out today is valid today. Immigration changes continuously. So you wake up in the morning, new rules, new programs, right? So as of today, everything we've said is valid. And remember, everything is publicly available. The information I've just given you, it's out there. You just have to know how to grab it. That's it. Okay. So if nobody has any questions, we will return today at 5 p.m. With our colleague who speaks Spanish, so we can interact in with Spanish viewers and questions. Okay, so one last question before we sign off. Miguel Hernandez on our Instagram is asking, I applied for the new TR to PR pathway but haven't passed the completeness check yet. Correct. Can I apply for a bridging or open work permit? My current work permit is expiring in 3 months. At this time, no. So Miguel, first they have to check your eligibility, as you mentioned, the completeness check. If you receive a letter inviting you to apply for bridging work permit, you can. But right now you cannot. It depends on your work permit. So if it's a postgraduate work permit, there is an open policy that allows you to apply for an 18-month work permit. If you're an essential worker and you're not an international student on a postgraduate work permit, then there may be other options, right? But you cannot apply for bridging work permit because you haven't received the initial completeness check and the letter from the IRCC. When you receive that, you can apply for the bridging work permit. But in the time being, if you're an international student with a postgraduate work permit, then you have other options to apply, okay, to stay inside the country and to make sure your work permit is there. If you have no other options, there's, you can convert to a visitor visa, but I assume you want to keep working. So if it is a postgraduate work permit, then that is possible to apply under the new policy, which will give you an 18-month open work permit. Miguel is asking, how long does the completeness check take? It's nobody knows. We expect at least 3 months, could be more. This is just an educated guess because this is a brand new program, everybody. Nobody knows how long the processing will take. I assume it could take anywhere from 3 to 4 months to receive an initial completeness check. It could take longer. It really depends on how many people the government is allocating to process these files. And again, everybody, we are here 9 a.m., 5 p.m. every Tuesday. We're going to be back here today at 5 p.m. North American Eastern Standard Time. Okay? So you can bring your questions, post them. You can even mention them before our session. We have a little countdown timer. You can post your questions, or you can come here and post your questions live, okay? Again, we're licensed immigration from here in Canada. We are here every Tuesday, 9 a.m., 5 p.m. We will be back here 5 p.m. later today to answer all your immigration-related questions for Canada. Thank you, everybody. Take care, and we will see you again today at 5 p.m.